Welcome to Season 3 of the Spotlight series, Don't Just Survive, Thrive. Season 1 was launched to help people through the pandemic by talking to a variety of experts about topics such as psychology, finance, and health. Season 2 focused on more work-related issues, including HR, marketing, and leadership. Now it is time for Season 3. Season 3 is centered on the IT industry, specifically tech startups. There are also career spotlights where I talk to senior IT people about the secrets to their impressive career journeys. My name is Nicola Steel, founder of JPP Talent Solutions, an Australian IT recruitment company. For over 20 years, I've helped tech startups and innovative SMEs to attract, recruit, and retain technical talent. I hope you enjoy listening. I'm delighted to introduce Miriam van Heusden. Miriam is the founder of Marilytix, a marketing performance program that provides accurate results for sales revenue and customer acquisition. Thank you for joining me on Season 3, Episode 23 of the Spotlight series, Don't Just Survive, Thrive.
Hi, Nicola. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Thank you. And I think you're on the glorious Gold Coast there, Miriam.
I am. It's absolutely beautiful here at the moment. We've got stunning weather, so it's really lovely.
It looks fantastic. So, Miriam, let's kick off. What's your personal story and your career background?
Personal story is I'm a single mum. I have a 17-year-old son, and I live on the gorgeous Gold Coast, which is an amazing place to live. And I am a software startup founder. So with the Marilytix is something that I've been working on for 5 years and have now recently brought it to market. So my background was I was in restaurants when I was with my ex-husband. He was the chef and I used to run the restaurants. And prior to that, I used to be in the travel industry. So had fantastic time in my 20s and 30s, traveling the world. But from being in the travel industry, I really learned to track my results. You know, how many airline tickets did I sell? How many car hires did I sell? Because when you recorded or took notes of what you did, you got something for free. Like, you know, if I said I sold, 25 Qantas tickets this month, I got a free ticket to Singapore or somewhere or to America, some exotic place. I had weekends in Thailand. I'd go over to Auckland for lunch, I had the real wonderful life. So I was really trained from being in my first career of tracking my results because I got something fantastic out of it and got to see a new place and a new adventure. So I found when I then went into restaurants, because my ex-husband was a chef, that it was a similar type of story. I was very much about tracking what was our performance, checking year in, year out. And I was also having a lot of marketing because I knew we used to, in the travel industry, we used to promote, you had to promote whatever specials were going on. So I was very conditioned is not the right word, but trained up to go, well, you need to promote your business. So that was something I did with the restaurant as well, was that I did a lot of marketing activities. And I had a really big marketing mix. Like I had, probably 10, 12, 15 different types of activities going on at any one time. A loyalty card, there would be a market, shopper dockets, there were a couple of newspapers, lots of different, I'd have maybe a workshop type of thing I was doing with another local business, we were sharing something and I'd work with the schools about programs. So had a lot of stuff going on and I wanted to know the results, but I got a business coach at the time. So that was something that really altered how I thought or how I ran business, because I had been the worker in the business. Even when I was in travel, I was the salesperson. And when I come into restaurants, I've never had any management experience. So I found I needed a business coach. I met this business coach at a networking breakfast, and it was one of her clients that had this breakfast. And I was just like gobsmacked. It was this girl had said she tripled her business in a year having this business coach. And I'm like, cha-ching, I want that. That's what I want to get. So that was my first introduction to business coaching. So that was 12 years ago, and really did make a big difference in, I learned with the marketing that it wasn't just tracking how many people came in, but you needed to do the sales as well to actually monetize it. And I could link it then to my cash flow of going, well, I've spent this much money, and, I've spent, $1,000 on a shopper docket campaign, and I've had $5,000 walk in the door with 50, maybe 500 customers, and average a sale of maybe $7.50. I did all of that. And that's, so I've got like years and years worth of results that I tracked. And that's how I segued into doing software, because, I was running the business and I wanted to automate it. So this is back in 2009. So we're just in the beginning of the smartphones. We're just at the beginning of iPads. The app industry hadn't really started yet. Or it was just on the start, and it's like I kept asking my point of sale guys, like, can we automate this? I was doing it on an Excel spreadsheet. We were collecting everything manually, and a voucher would staple to a receipt, and we'd track it all and go write it all in the spreadsheet, and then I'd put it on another spreadsheet. But there was nothing around at the time that you could automate it. And to me, it was, it's like an Excel spreadsheet. This should be automated. It's simple. And that's when I finished up in that restaurant, I decided to go down the software world of, well, how do I do this? So I talked to app developers and found a way to develop software. And I think it's 5 years later now, I've launched the product.
Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it, when you think back to only just over 10 years ago, and we didn't really have apps, and our whole lives are run by apps.
Yep. So there was 10 years ago, there was nothing. We didn't even we had mobile phones because we had the Nokias.
Well, exactly.
And they were expensive to talk to people. Like if you talk to someone for 15 minutes, that'd be like a $40 phone call.
Absolutely. Well, I think my dad still thinks a mobile phone's still like that, because he talks to you for about 10 seconds. And I love your travel story as well. I love traveling, and it's so difficult at the moment because we can't really do that. And I get as well what you're saying is you need to see the results. Because I'm like that. And I remember it was I think I'd been recruiting about a year, and this was back at the turn of the century, as my lovely darling children say, in 2000. And I won a trip to St. Lucia in the Caribbean for some sales results, which was it was the most incredible, beautiful place.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. And you've got a 17-year-old, so they're in year 12, are they?
He's in year 11.
Year 11. Now I've got one in year 11 as well. Yes, it's an interesting period of time.
They still need their mother a lot. We just gone through the whole driving, getting driver's license, and then getting the car, and then the first car crash, and only minor, so just repairs and stuff. But you're still, and then getting, like, he's got a job now. He just got a job in a bar. So that's very exciting. He's doing a traineeship, and he's doing his Duke of Edinburgh award. So he's a busy boy, and Mum keeps him, keeps all that stuff rolling so that he can do it all and, not fall behind in not fall behind in school, or not fall behind in his volunteering, or not fall behind in his traineeship. So, not that he's like, I focus my life. I'm busy enough with my own life and my software and that, but there's, I think, what have I got, another 2 year and a half, and then he'll be off to uni, and things will be a lot easier then and not so time consuming. But I was having a conversation with my sister this morning how, I think when they get to year 11 and 12, it's a very time consuming time for your children. Like when kids are young, like 2, 3, 4, 5, you're very busy with them. Once they hit 7, it gets a bit easier. And I think it's easy for quite some time. But, I've noticed now this last 12 months, especially year 11, it's very it's a lot of time. Like I spend a lot of time driving lessons, getting that 100 hours driving experience, and, doing the jobs, getting the resumes ready, making sure the shirts are ironed so they look good, all that kind of stuff. So
absolutely
a lot to do.
And good for him getting a job, because my daughter says she's too busy with her studies to get a job, but she messaged me this morning asking for money. And it's like, well, you wouldn't need to ask me.
Yeah, my son's got 2 jobs. So he's got his ship, which is where he gets his certificate 3 in business. And with a school-based traineeship, they have a job because that's the practical side of the learning, and then they have the theory side with the qualification. But now it's like, well, if you want to have a car, you need to pay for it. I'm not paying for it, so go get yourself another job. But I did go around with him handing out resumes to lots of venues, and we've done that a few times with him. So, it's been fortunate he's got a job out of that.
That's brilliant. Well, good for him. So when you founded Marilytix, what was your real purpose behind that, Miriam?
So when I'd had the restaurant, which I talked about, we used to track our results. I was really frustrated at the time because I thought this is, we were using Excel spreadsheets and, stapling receipts to vouchers and then counting them up. So it was a very manual process. It was fraught with, there's errors in there. You can miss things. You can't always track things, calculation errors. But look, I would say we were probably close to 95%. But talking to the point of sale guys, like, surely we can, put a button in the point of sale. No, you can't. You could do that, but it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. The big guys do that, not the little restaurants. After closing that restaurant, I then opened another restaurant for a very short time with my ex-husband. That was sort of, I wanted to go down the software and he wanted to do another restaurant because that other one closed because it was end of lease. All right, quite happy to do this was our third at that stage. I'm quite happy to do that, but I'll help set it up for you. But after 6 months, you've got to start running it yourself because I really want to go down this software world. Because with the research of setting up that third restaurant was things had changed in the hospitality industry where we became tablets were around and we had the point of sales were app-based. So this is where there was a change. This was 2015 by the time, and the technology was there. So I talked a lot to the developers of the point of sale and spoke to them and said, do you think this, so not only were I setting up this restaurant, but I was researching at the same time with the developers and saying, well, look, if I was to do this, would that work? And they're going, absolutely 100%. You could easily. So they gave me a lot of the internal insight of, was this possible? Could we do it? So from getting that information, I then went to an app company about, well, what do I do? If I want to do this, what do I do? And I did a 2-day workshop with them. So it cost a lot of money. I think it was maybe about $9,000 something for the 2 days. So it was a big investment, but they wrote the whole user story down. So for me, it was about getting a solution. I did lots of research with having my own business. There was no program out there that could, there's lots of what we could say, I call the digital footprint analytics. You can track what you do online so easily, and it's scary how much information you can find, what pages you go to, how long you spend, and what's your activity. But what I was more interested in as being a business owner is I was spending $950 on a shopper docket campaign every month. I wanted to make sure I got some value. I wasn't, because I did have one which was a type of newspaper, $250 a month, and after 3 months, first month, 2 people, $12 in sales. Second month, one people. 23rd month, one sale, $7.50. Now, when you're spending $250 for the campaign per month, and I'm getting a return of $7.50. I'm throwing my money away. But I wanted to prove that, because otherwise people say, well, you don't know. You're just guessing, or you think that, and it is all guesswork. You actually don't know. So with the way that I designed the software, it was linked to cash flow. Is it worth it? What is that return? Am I wasting my money? And that's the solution to a problem that I had, but I also saw every other business owner had it as well. There was no way of doing this. And I thought, it can't be hard.
Absolutely. And I can imagine, the hospitality industry has obviously been hit extremely hard by COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I can imagine that return on investment is exceptionally necessary now.
I think it is at any time because you don't want to waste money. And like with hospitality, the margins are very slim, right? So there's not, it's just the rule of thumb is it's like a 10% profit, but then out of that 10% profit comes maintenance and all the rest of it. So there's not a high profit margin in hospitality. And now you've got your third-party apps like your Uber Eats and Menulog coming in and taking 30%. You know, how can you take 30% when you're only already getting 10% profit? It's a really fine line. I mean, it does come under the marketing, which is technically under your expenses area, but it's still quite a big chunk. And we do need it because they've got the database. They bring the people in, and you know, I've been doing some work with some beta testers. I think they're doing Menulog, and it's definitely worthwhile for them. I mean, you may think, oh, I'm spending 30%, but, you know, these guys are making 20,000, 30,000 a month because of using those, and that was sales that they wouldn't have had. And, you know, it's up, you can alter your prices according to those platforms as well, you know, so you're effectively not paying 30% because your menu's higher priced anyway to recover that 30%. So that's where I found that can actually value whatever type of activity you're doing. And you can go, well, I can actually make a decision as a business owner of going, am I going to continue down that pathway? Is it like giving me value? I did barter card back in the day, and you know what? That paid for a lot of my qualifications. It paid for my car repairs. It paid for a lot of things that generally I would not have done if I had not had that money. And it brought a lot of business into the business. Now, yes, some of it was barter card dollars, but it did bring cash business in as well. You know, the connections I made was very, very valuable. And, you know, with having Marilytix, I could actually see what was going on. Like with doing all that testing with the software going through, you know, the minimum viable products, I had to test it. And I used all the data that I had from the cafe restaurants, you know, that I used real data because I wanted to see it. So I got a very different view of it, seeing it on a visual dashboard, seeing it in pie graphs and seeing it in comparison rather than just looking at a spreadsheet of numbers. You miss things all the time with the spreadsheet. Seeing it visually makes a huge difference.
I was going to say, because when I see a spreadsheet, my head just feels really uncomfortable. But when you see it visually displayed, it's so much easier to understand and you get it. And
Absolutely.
I think everybody's different. Some people get excited about spreadsheets. I'm not one of them. But you need to understand your data, basically. And Marilytix, I was thinking, where does the name come from, Miriam?
The name comes from, it's actually the third name of the business. So the first one was called MAROI, which was Marketing and Advertising Return on Investment. So it was an acronym. So they did that one. And then I did a coaching program a few years ago, and it's like, no, it's all about your sales. So we changed it to Track Your Sales Money. And I was like, yeah, that's not right either because it's about marketing. And then, I don't know, I think we were actually launching the website. And it's like I'd done the thing. It's like I need to do a website now, and I need to have a decent name. And I had a few drinks and was chatting to a friend, and because you need to get into that real creative mode. And I'm very analytical with family of engineers, so very much about facts and figures and structure and systems. So it's very hard for me to tap into creative-wise business because I can see things and see problems and solve them. But yeah, creativity is not my strength. So it's marketing and analytics broken up and put together. So MAR, marketing, and then the Kating is gone, and then the analytics is the ANA on. So MAR, analytics. So it's the two words brought together.
Absolutely. I didn't know whether it was a play on your name or not. No. But goodness me. So, you had to have a few drinks to get creative.
I did. And then as well as for me, it's not just about, I like that name. Is then I've got to research, is that name available? Is the domain available? Is the business name media? Because all of that is required. Like I do startup weekend events, and some of the people come up with fantastic names, and there was one particular, I think it was my first one that I went to, and the name of this app, I Googled it instantly, and it's like, there's another app with that name, you can't use it.
Yeah.
And even like I've recently written a book, and the name of my book, there's a big company out there that have that as a domain name for something that they use. And it's like, okay, do I keep that name? Is that going to work? So I've just called it, the book's name is Boost Your Marketing ROI Book for the domain. So whereas this other company, which is it's ClickFunnels with Russell Brunson, which is massive, multi-billion dollar company, and they use that as their like a pipeline. That's the lead generation, is that particular domain. So I think actually it's quite good that they have it, because then I'll be able to divert some over to my side if they're Googling it, because it'll come to my book.
Absolutely. No, that would be fantastic. And well done with your book. I think you're only a couple of months off publish date with regards to that.
Yeah, so it's going to be coming out in early November on the Amazon, the bestseller thing. So it'll be released then. So very exciting. 12 months of hard work there, but looking forward to it. So I find it'll work hand in hand with the software, because the software tracks and it tracks your results, so you can identify what's going on and make insights. And with the book, it's based on it's called Boost Your Marketing ROI, so your return on investment. It's a systematic approach to marketing. You start with your planning and your budgeting. Well, what kind of things can I do with marketing? Do social media, do digital, with YouTube or blogging, but also you've got your traditional networking and newspapers, and they all go hand in hand together. And then we look at implementing systems, and you can systemize it and have active campaign, or MailChimp, and do your email marketing, or Sendable to schedule your social media. And then the fourth part of the book is identification. So that's where the Marilytix software really comes into play, of identifying what's going on. And then the last section of the book is about innovation. You look at your results and go, okay, that one's gone, scrap that out, didn't do anything. But the ones that are working really well, copycat that over, or emulate them over to another platform. If it's working fantastic on LinkedIn, it'll work fantastic on maybe Facebook. You might just need to tweak it, or maybe if it does work on Facebook, you can then put it on Instagram. Those two work very close together. Or you could try, if it's working on Facebook Lives are working well, then you can start to promote your YouTube channel. That's again using a video to a video, different platforms owned by different companies, but you can then still take along, even I think, having an interview, you can then transcribe that into having it as a blog, and then having the audio scraped out of it so that it can be used on a podcast or as an audio. And then you've got the blogs can be broken down into social media posts. You can repurpose a lot of content. And that all comes through the innovation section of it. So that's where I found, because my history after the restaurants was I went into training. So I was teaching a lot of hospitality, business, marketing and management. And I got a lot of that education, the theoretical. And I just found lots of people are very good at something. It might be like, I'm great at Facebook ads, or I'm really good at LinkedIn, or I'm really good at, strategy. But as a business, you need to do all of it. So there's not a little like that manual to say, here you start and you follow it through to finish. So that's what I felt like I wrote.
Yes, that's brilliant, and well done. That's a real accomplishment, getting that book over the line.
Can't wait until it's live. That's probably really looking forward to that.
Can't wait to have it in your hands. That would be incredible. I can't wait to see that. So Miriam, your core values, what are they, and how have they really driven the culture of Marilytix?
So my core values are about knowledge. Knowledge is a big one of having, when you know what you've got or what is there or what's available, that's where you can make good decisions. So knowledge is a really big one of my values. I would say kindness is not the right word, is giving back's not the right word, but, helping others, providing support. I've worked, I've been the business owner, I've been like in the travel, I've always been in the service industry. and creating that environment of good learning or good, enjoying yourself. To me, I provide a service, and whether it's through teaching, like I'm not saying I'm old, but now 52, and I've gained a lot of knowledge in my life. And to me, it's really important to mentor those young ones or to support other people with what my expertise in and to provide that. So I'm very much about, share, leadership is a really another quality, or core value that I think is really important, that as we get older, we need to really step into those roles, because our young ones don't have it, and they look up to the older ones for that. I mean, I met this most amazing Lauren Hall from Ivy. I met her at a brunch on Tuesday, and I said, "Oh my God, you're just phenomenal. Can I come and have coffee with you, please?" Because as much as she's similar age to me, probably a little bit older, but her business is where I want to be, in the future. And we all need mentors. So I mentor a lot of young people or other people that are less experienced in business than me. And I find by supporting other people, I actually get so much more in return, and my business grows as well.
Yes, and I completely agree with you. And it's funny, isn't it, how you suddenly go from the student to the teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know when that suddenly happens.
It's somewhere in your 40s, I think it starts to happen around that, because that's when I was owning the restaurants, and that was where the shift was for me. And that's where culture is very important as well. I learned that with being in the travel industry and being in hospitality, there is a very strong flavour of bullying. It's easy to bully people. It's easy for customers to bully you. That it's rife, and the harassment's quite big as well, unfair dismissals, or things that can be wrong, complaints. A lot of it comes down to communication. Like with Marilytix now, I mean, I don't have a team in Australia, but my developers are based in Vietnam, and my marketing team are based in the Philippines. So I do go offshore. It is cheaper. Unfortunately, a developer here in Australia now, I just had a conversation with someone yesterday, 80,000. Right, so I'm bootstrapping my software myself. So money is tight for me. If I wanted to go 180,000 for an Australian developer, I would need to get investors, and that's, whereas I'm not spending nearly that amount with my team in the Vietnam. I could probably support them for 5 years on that amount, I would say, something like that. But, my lead developer just told me on Thursday that his wife and children have just gone to hospital with COVID. So, and I was so upset, because I've been to Vietnam multiple times. I haven't met his family, but I hang out with him and the team. And so, I instantly put in, I put some cash in the account, and was like, here's some COVID support money. Please take care of your family. Go buy them something nice some nice pretty stuff for your wife that she can feel good. The hospitals are pretty horrible. His kids are quite young, so buy some fun stuff for the kids. And I do the same, they get bonuses, and I look after them. And when we go in the future, they will always be looked after. I like flying to Vietnam to see the team. And even here, I did have a girl that worked with me as well. And, I look after, to me, they're your people. So, look after your people, communicate with your people, and they'll look after you. But if you treat them like shit, I had somebody say to me recently, their staff are all monkeys. Well, you're not talking respectfully about them. So how are they going to treat you with respect if you talk like that, right? So, I mean, monkeys is fairly soft, but it's still, I would never call my staff that. So to me, it's always, I have great staff. My supervisors were 17. With my restaurants, I trained up my girls, or the young ones, started at 13, 14, 15, and usually by 17 they were shift supervisors. They loved it. They ate it up.
Absolutely. And I mean, how can you describe your staff as monkeys? How rude is that?
It's very common for hospitality, because there's a lot of people that don't really care about what they do. They're just there for some money, and they're there to take advantage. And chefs that have been high on ice, and I've had staff that have just been drunk on the job. They're just drinking because it's free for them. They think it's free for them. It's actually not. But, it's like, well, there's alcohol on the shelf. I'm going to start drinking. They can pay for it. They've got enough money in the register. So, there's just that entitlement attitude. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm getting less money than you are. I might be the owner of the restaurant, but all that money in the till actually goes to pay bills and pay your wages, pays for the food. There's not really much left at the end of the day. Sometimes there is, But for, that's why we've seen with COVID so many business closes, because there's a lot of businesses around and not enough people, not enough customers to bring in the money. So, a lot of restaurants go backwards rather than forwards.
Yeah, and it is really difficult at the moment. And I think COVID's causing a lot of issues, not just in terms of closure, but the ones that are opening, and people are being asked to, use the app to check in.
Yeah.
And some people are offended by this.
Yeah, and even wearing a mask and the way where you're seated, we're 1.5 meters apart, or, wearing gloves. There's all sorts of challenges in it.
And shouting at these young kids because they don't want to wear a mask. And it's like, these are just teenagers that have been told this is what you have to do. And it's just...
I used to train my staff up because we had the main restaurant in a shopping centre, and our sales used to double, nearly triple within a week because of the Christmas holidays. And I used to do some serious training. We always had, I think it was the 30th of November, we had our Christmas drinks because it was a pre-Christmas, but it was also a training event of the customers that are going to come in for the next 2 months are very different to our regular customers. They're going to be screaming at you. They're going to be impatient. They're going to be tired. They're going to make they're going to be complaints coming out of the roof because just nothing is good enough. They don't want to wait 10 minutes for coffee. They want their coffee minutes in 2 minutes. They want a well-done steak in 5 minutes, and things are just not realistic and reasonable. So it's not you personally. Please don't. And if you do need to cry, go find someone to cry show on, because it's normal. You just unfortunately need to toughen up and get a little bit more of a thicker skin, but very, very different type of people, when it's busy. And the COVID's brought that back out again, the amount of complaints. But this is why marketing is so important too right now. Like, the amount of businesses that are closed, we don't know what's open and what's closed anymore. We don't know that the times have changed. Communicating with using, say, Google My Business, or, having your opening hours there, or showing that you're closed, those kind of things. That's just your first way that you can communicate to a customer before they've even visited you.
Absolutely. And at the moment, obviously, we're in extremely strange times, but we should just treat everybody with respect. And I think you mentioned kindness being one of your values.
Yeah.
But that should, that's something that is so important, particularly at difficult times like this.
Yeah.
So, Miriam, what would you say have been your main challenges as a startup founder?
Probably the biggest challenge is being the unknown territory, that not knowing a pathway. Like, when you do business, you can go and do a diploma of business, or you can go and get a business coach, or you can go and do some courses to help you in different areas. So it's a fairly easy, well-trodden, and I use those words, it's a pathway it doesn't matter. All businesses tend to run the same. There's just that 5% difference of what the speciality is. Is it a restaurant? Is it a bookkeeper? Is it a recruitment? Is it a, theme park? But the machinations of the way a business runs is 95% the same. We all have HR, we all have systems, we all have marketing, we all have finances, we all have sales. They're the 5 main areas. There's maybe something else I've forgotten, but, we've all got that similarity of what needs to be done in each of those areas. So it's just there's something that's different. A startup is, you're not a traditional hairdresser. You're not a traditional restaurant. You have something that is completely new, right? That's why it's called a startup. Or to me, that's my explanation of a startup, is something that's starting. It's a start up, it's something starting new. It's never been tried before. So not only as a startup founder, you have to bring that business expertise, which I don't have that as a challenge. I've run businesses for 20 years. I'm very experienced at running staff, but I see that in other people is why so many startups fail, is they don't have the business experience. But biggest challenge for me is trying to, and convince is not the right word, but I'm at what we call beta launch now. So we're trying out, we've got the software ready. It's looking fantastic. We've got a few, I think I've got maybe about 5 or 10 beta testers trying to work out those little bugs. Is something working? Does this meet what you want? And getting those people to start, we're just about to launch officially. We were launching officially beginning of 2022, But right now we're in certification. So we've got our partners like Xero and Square and Counter by Lightspeed and Vend. We have to have a certain amount of customers before they'll feature us on their app stores. And just to try and find those customers are getting, okay, how do I find a needle in a haystack? How do I find that person that does want to know those analytics? Because you can say, right, there's plenty of restaurants like if I go to Broadbeach or Surfers, but not all of them are interested in, not all of them might be marketing. Not all of them might be doing performance results. So yeah, I might go to, I've done many times, I've done the walk around of going, there's 30 restaurants, but I might only have one person that's interested, but they're not really my ideal client. So that's right now is my biggest challenge, is finding, once I'm featured on the app stores, my ideal clients will be attracted because they can see what it is, and that's the solution. So because, companies like Xero, big companies, they have 2 million users. So it's going to be easier to find my target client that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think
that's the biggest challenge right now is getting my ideal customers, how to find them without spending too much money, because I'm bootstrapping. So I do invest. It's all my own investment. I'm trying to keep the investment, not getting investors right now.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, that's one of the questions I'm going to ask you, is about how have you actually funded your startup so far?
For the first, I think, 4 years, I worked 3 jobs. So I literally worked 3 jobs. So I had the first job was my income. Second job was, we had personal circumstances, so that helped support the family and pay the debts of the restaurant failures and stuff like that. But the third job was actually for me to go towards my dream. My son was a lot younger back then. We were going through a lot of, terrible circumstances at the time. I just kept that third job because I wanted to keep my dream alive. And I just kept doing that third job. It was tough. And then, I had the unfortunate circumstance that my mother passed away 1.5 years ago. So that absolutely devastated me. But I did get an inheritance, so that's helped fund me over the last 1.5 years or so, which has helped. So I'm very frugal. That's what internationals, I've got the years of business experience, so I know there's a lot of stuff I can do myself. I'm not one to do everything myself. I do delegate. All my social media goes over to my virtual assistant, and massive kudos to her. And then I've got another girl. She started as a virtual assistant 5 years ago, writing my blog. She's now my brand manager, and give big kudos to her. Absolutely amazing. She's going, we need to update your website. I'm going to do this. Yep, go for it. What do you need? And so I just do a lot of the approvals, and it's like, how much? And we've got it really streamlined that I don't need to. It's not that I don't pay a lot, but I'm quite happy to, I'm not they don't charge me the cheapest rate. Like, you can get far cheaper services from India or wherever else. But I'd rather pay for quality. So I'm not paying the cheapest, but I'm not paying Australian prices either. So I also do use places like Upwork, and, I know for my book, we've got illustrations in that. I got my designer through that, and it hasn't cost me that much. And it's been fantastic to deal with, really good experience. But I do have the HR experience from the restaurant. So I don't just grab the first person. I do go through quite a stringent process of recruitment. I go through all the selection of going, okay, there's about 30 people that have applied. I shortlist it down to 5, and then they have to do a task. And then out of that, it gets shortlisted usually down to 2 or 3. And I most of the time hire 2 of them. Like, if I can't give them the job I've hired them for, I'll hire one, and then I'll say, look, you didn't get this, but I want to keep you on my books because I'll probably have more work for you coming up. And it just saves me that process later.
Absolutely. And I'm very sorry to hear about your mum. But what was I going to say? I was talking about the virtual assistants that you team there. I've got a VA, and they are fantastic.
Yeah, they're amazing.
She gets everything done at super speed, of a good quality, and with a smile on her face.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So eager and happy to get things done.
It's very different here. Like, to me, I could only get that same experience out of a young person. Like, that's why I had young ones working in the restaurant. I found and it's not that I'm not a discrimination, right? But I found when I hired people my own age there was a real entitlement's almost the word of, well, it's your business. You're supposed to work hard. And, I'm doing you a favor by being here. And half the time they just slack off. And then when you'd say, do your job, it's like, well, would you stop being a bitch? Why are you being so nasty to me? It's like, I'm trying to be your boss. And it's like, no, you're attacking me now. And then it became really hard. And that's where I found with having the young ones was I didn't get that pushback. So, I feel sorry for, it just didn't work for me. But then my leadership has changed a lot in the last 10 years as well, having the business coach, doing a lot of personal development programs, doing a lot of business accelerators. And I did get a lot of leadership training through the personal development program. So, now I teach leadership and management as well. That's one of my things I love teaching. So it's about who you are and how you hold yourself. I wouldn't take that. When I had the end days of my restaurant, I used to say to the staff, if they were slacking off, I'd say, if I have to do your job, you don't have one, because I've got my own job to do and I don't have time to do your job. So I'll get someone else to do it if you don't want to. So do your job or go home.
Absolutely. And
I didn't deliver it nasty and I wasn't angry. It was just like, well, if they weren't doing something, it's like, go do your job. And if there's some pushback, it's like, hey, I'm the boss, be respectful, do your job. That's what you're hired for. It's what you're paid to do. I'm not paying you here to sit down and look pretty or to slack off and chat around with your friends. You're paid to do a task. That's your job description and your job role. Do it. If you don't, my job as the boss is to tell you what to do.
Well, I'm laughing because my daughter, the 16-year-old, I gave her the opportunity to do things like graphic design and podcast editing and video editing and everything, which is what my VA spends a lot of time doing. Anyway, the amount of fuss and the grumpiness and the eye rolling that she gave me, she lost out on the opportunity. And then I've got this lovely lady from the Philippines who does it with a smile on her face and does it as a better quality job. So Jessica lost out on that opportunity down to her attitude.
Very similar circumstances to what I had, because I hired my niece. So same thing, but my niece, she absolutely was awesome at the job. But she was in her final year of university as well. So when she finished up, it was like, I need to start focusing on final 6 months of uni. And that's where I went into getting the VA as well, like the one that, like more of the virtual assistant rather than just the brand manager. So I had the brand manager, then I hired the virtual assistant as well. But the thing with your daughter, and the same with my niece, is you're the mum or I'm the auntie or whatever. It's very different to being the boss, being like, you treat it differently. You're actually mum first and foremost, and that's about 90% of your role. Whereas giving her a job, you just don't get respected the same way. So there's something I learned is I could never be a teacher. Like, my son's doing a traineeship and I used to teach traineeships. That was one thing I did between the restaurants and now doing the software, as being the teach, doing the training. And I don't train him. Like, I'll give him some support every now and then, but I would rather him go through the trainer because I'm his mother, right? And that's who I want to be, is his mum. I'm not there to be the teacher as well or the trainer. It's like, I'll just be a support person.
Absolutely.
If you're stuck, I'll help you, but you go talk to your trainer first, because that's what their job is.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very difficult. But so your plans, Miriam, for Marilytix over the next 12 months, what are your plans?
Very exciting times. I mean, it's always moving, the software. So I just was recently nominated as a finalist for the Oz Mumpreneur Awards. Didn't win. We just had the announcements last night, but more awards coming up. We also have partnerships so at the moment our partners are Xero, Square, Counter by Lightspeed, and Vend, which has very recently been purchased by Lightspeed as well. But we're now just signed up with Tyro, which is a payment processor. So we're one of their official partners as well. So we're about to start the integrations with them. We're also starting integrations with, or partnerships integrations with Shopify, which is e-commerce. So that will be absolutely massive. So they will open up, I'd say, within the next 6 months. And we have our official launch in 6 months as well. So my plan is once the book, which I've written, launches in November, and then I want to officially launch the software in January 2022, so that we're live, and we've got a lot of certification in place, and then coming to so next year we'll be just driving more people to use it. We'll probably have some more mastermind workshops, I think, with helping people with their marketing, so that we've got the book to support and then the software they can use. But I've really found with talking to a lot of beta testers is a lot of people want support with the general marketing overall. It's not like I want a Facebook specialist or a specialist in a certain area. It's just that general, well, what do I do, and do I have somebody that can mentor me through the process? So maybe building some programs. I'm not too sure on that one just yet, but yeah, really, getting that software out. But then, as well, hopefully with COVID, I'm hoping COVID will really settle down in 2022, because 2023 I want to start going to the international expos. I've already paid for the one in London, so we're going to be exhibiting at the Restaurant and Takeaway Innovation Expo in London. So I've had to postpone this year's because we can't leave Australia, but there's lots of hospitality, retail expos around the world, and that's my plan for 2022, is to bring my love of travel and my love of software and combine the two and start exhibiting in international expos around the world and bringing this software to the world.
So that's fantastic, going international in 2022. So I was talking to Sarah Tapper.
2023.
2023. Oh, yeah. So Sarah, the migration lawyer, Sarah Tapper, she thinks that the international borders should be open mid next year. You should be able to do that. Yeah, fingers crossed. I've got everything crossed.
Yes, yeah. So with the London Expo, when I initially went into it, it was November, and then it changed to June, and then now it's back in November. So I actually don't know when it's going to be. So they've rolled it over to 2022. I'm hoping it'll be November 2022, so it'll just give us a little bit more time, and then that will be the season of the expos. But if it's June, well, I'll just go over in June. So, but with it does depend on a lot of the COVID situations. I do have responsibilities to my own family. That my son will be in year 12 next year, so I don't really want to go and disappear for a few weeks. When he's right in the middle of exam blocks or anything. So, if it could be if we could do it towards the end, that would be even better. But we'll wait and see. So. But next year is about more just building on, and right now I'm working with brand managers to make sure our messaging's right, and are we doing all the tweaking? That's where we are being in the beta, is just making sure everything lands right, and do people, we know the software works really well, but what do people want from it? So that's something that's really interesting to see. How do I have a videographer that uses it. I have a brewery that uses it. I have a cafe that uses it. I have a bookkeeper that uses it. So they're very different industries. They all use it differently, and it's interesting to see how people use it, because we can, I do sessions with them, so I can see what do they look at, what information do they want to see, what buttons do they click, is it, does it look the right way, and that's all the stuff that we go and I do review a lot with the beta testing.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's not what you want, it's what your customers want.
Absolutely.
And that constantly need to be refined and what have you.
Absolutely.
And on the subject of travelling to London the end of next year, because I've got a similar situation to you with a child that will be in year 12 next year. You and I could be on the same plane.
Well, we have to look and see if we can do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah. So we're hoping to go back for Christmas next year after all the exams are finished and what have you.
Cool.
So your end goal, what's the big end goal for Marilytix?
The big end goal is to sell. So it has been from day one. I built the business to sell. So it's been set up to sell. I hope to be the next Snapchat, or what was it? Afterpay just got bought out for I think $11 billion or something. Whether it's that much would be lovely. But yeah, so I don't, there's got to be, I think Afterpay's been going for about 12 years. I don't really intend to be, well, I don't know. As long as I'm having fun and I'm still enjoying it and I'm still learning, I'll keep going for as long as I want. But, I also, for me, quality of life is very important. I want to travel. If the software is bringing me travel, that's fine. But, I still want to have a good life and enjoy myself. But, I love business. I live and breathe business. I'd probably be spending 60, 70, 80 hours a week doing business. So whether it's networking or whether it's talking to developers or whether it's, doing emails, with the email automations, I work nearly every day and a lot of hours. So yeah, life's not dull. I make sure I do a lot of exercise to keep up so my fitness can keep up with it. But yeah, so the end goal is to actually sell and then that way I'll be comfortable for the rest of my life. Also, I look at it as well is that's more money than what I could ever think of. And I'd be distributing it as I think most of us would, we distribute it to our loved ones as well. But, or our important, to me, who's important in the business would also get some shares. But I don't need that much money. $1 million or something would probably be enough for the rest of my life. I don't know. I don't live an expensive life. I'm not someone that needs a lot. I have my car's paid off and I'm just enjoying life. I don't need an expensive life, but I'm very much about supporting other businesses. I have traveled the world. I think I've done 43 countries. I've traveled through Africa and India and all through Asia. And I know with my Filipinos and with the Vietnamese, to me, I want to really support and build other people up. And I think that's something that however much money I get from the sale of mine is then I can start going I want to go more into that mentoring role. I'm already starting, I'm more in the coaching mentoring now, and I'm just been in that for a while, but I really want to go into, I've done this. I've sold, I've built $1 billion company. And I want to now teach people how to do it, because I think we build our own wealth and it's not just about the value. Don't forsake, and this is where I see, unfortunately, a lot of it's probably more a young man because there's a lot of men in startups, but those ones that are 25 to 35, they're spending, 20, probably 80 to 100 hours a week. Everything's business. So they're not got a balance of life. And it's really important for your spirituality, for your fitness, for what you eat. I mean, I go salsa dancing. I love salsa dancing. The season's just started again 3 times a week, so I salsa dance usually 2 to 3 nights a week. I walk to the beach every day. I go kayaking. I try to go at least every week. I'm not quite that good, but I'll go at least once a fortnight. So I want, I spend time with my family and my friends. I like that quality of life. To me, that's really super important. Mm-hmm. And if you're spending all your hours working, you're going to burn out. It's the easiest way to burn out. And then you're just going to keep doing the same thing. So it just doesn't work. So quality of life. So if, for me, that, as I said, that goal of being billion, whatever, it's got to be an astronomical amount because it's the challenge that I like. It's not the actual amount that I'm worried about. It's like being one of those Afterpays, being one of those unicorns. That's the goal of, I want to be a unicorn. And
you want to be a unicorn?
I want to be a unicorn, and I want to be that, that female founder, that has gone through, I have gone through a lot of adversity myself, single mom. I'm, and I'm not 25. I'm not a 25-year-old startup founder. I'm a 52-year-old, the opposite, put the numbers the other way. I have a wealth of experience, but the ones that you see being those unicorns are generally fairly young. And I think there's, I don't discredit them at all, but there's a lot of luck there as well. And they've built an amazing thing. But, I think to me, I would love to have that happen because for me, it's about I can distribute that wealth amongst so many more people. And that to me is what gives me joy.
That is such a fabulous, lofty goal that it's not just about the money. It's about what you're going to bring to other people with that money. And also what I really, really love is having that fun. Life should never be dull.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you can't just work every hour God sends.
We used to have a saying, it's not just the destination, it's the journey getting there. So enjoy the journey because, that plane trip to go to London is the time you will spend with your family and you'll get one-on-one time with your kids, right? You don't get that time. Or I know when I go, organise a trip to Asia, or when I went to Africa, and they love the whole, the planning. It's like, oh my God, where's all these places I can go to? So you start doing all that exploring, and then you're imagining. So you're not there yet. I mean, when you're there, it's like, it's fun, but it's not the same. I get a lot of enjoyment out of the planning. And I think that's what I really like about the software. It's just another journey. There is really no end goal. It's just, I'm enjoying the journey. I enjoy the people I meet. I enjoy the opportunities that it opens up, because it's the fan, it's not the excuse. It's the thing that gives me that access. Being a startup founder, being a female startup founder, gives me access to a lot of things. It is really tough as a female founder, and I think a lot of us have. There is a difference between a business female and a startup female founder. I don't see that many startups, because there's not that many people that do a solution to a problem, and they're the ones I really gravitate towards. And I think if you've got a problem and you've got a solution and you've got the guts to make it a dream and follow it, I think that's amazing, to actually do that.
Fantastic. Absolutely love it. And I must introduce you to another older female founder, Sharon Doolan, who she's got a solution for the creative industry. She has a long history as a voiceover artist. You've probably heard her voice. But I think you two would get on like a house on fire. And she also wants to be a unicorn, and she's great fun as well. So I'll introduce you both. And one final question. So,
Sure.
Miriam.
Yes.
You have a year 11er.
Yep.
That's the right terminology.
Yep.
What advice would you give to year 11, Miriam?
To year 11 is make sure you have fun. Don't take life too seriously, because there is so much to do with career. You get a lot of pressure with career.
Mm-hmm.
So just enjoy, make sure you enjoy your time. Like, if you're not doing the ATAR route, there will be another way to get to uni, right? So you don't have to choose your career at the age of 16 or 17.
Thank you very much, Miriam. It's such a lovely, so fantastic hearing your insights. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Just say thank you, Nicola. I've really enjoyed, this is my first podcast. I'm sure I'm going to be doing more in the future, but it's a beautiful introduction to this type of media. It's my first time as a podcast. Really enjoyed the process. It's been fantastic. I think it's a really lovely way to share your story, because, we all have stories to share. When we see somebody that's at the pinnacle of their career, or, you think, oh my God, they're famous right now. Well, usually there's been a lot of hard work to get to that point, a huge amount of work. And, I think that we need to really celebrate that as well. You celebrate successes, but it's not, you can't just assume they've been lucky or it's easy for them. The stories I've heard of some founders recently has been, they've had horrific times, and out of our adversities is then you get strength and experience and knowledge. You learn that from not so much sometimes horrible situations, but that's what helps you propel forward.
Absolutely. And I agree, learning very much through adversity. And I think very few success stories have come through an easy route.
Yeah.
There'll be struggle behind that. But thank you very much, Miriam.
Cool. Thank you so much. I really, as I said, really enjoyed it. Appreciated being a guest. It was great. And I love listening to your podcast. They're very, very interesting.
Thank you.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're looking for career advice, your next career opportunity, or to grow your tech team, then please call me, Nicola Steel, on 0499 773 546, or go to our website, jjptalent.com.au. The Don't Just Survive, Thrive podcast is part of the Spotlight series, which includes the YouTube channel Spotlight on Software Development. If you want more insights into the software industry, particularly tech startups, then subscribe to the Spotlight on Software Development YouTube channel. Thank you for listening. Until next time.